Brianna Maitland was just 17, a high school student juggling classes and a part-time job at the Black Lantern Inn. On the night of March 19, 2004, she finished her shift as usual, said goodbye to her coworkers, and stepped out into the chilly Vermont air. She was a typical teenager, full of dreams, laughter, and plans for the future. But that night, something changed forever. Brianna got into her green 1985 Oldsmobile and drove off into the darkness, heading toward her friend's house. The rural roads were quiet, the only sound the hum of her engine and the crunch of gravel beneath her tires. But somewhere along that lonely stretch, Brianna vanished without a trace. The next day, her car was discovered in a bizarre position, backed into an old abandoned barn, its rear end poking out as if it had been hastily parked or even staged. The scene was unsettling, and Brianna was nowhere to be found. March 19, 2004, became a date seared into the memory of her family and the entire community. Since that night, not a single confirmed trace of Brianna has surfaced. Picture it, a desolate Vermont road, the moon casting long shadows, and a solitary car left eerily against the side of a crumbling barn. The silence was deafening, broken only by the wind rustling through the trees. Inside the car, Brianna's belongings were scattered, her paychecks, contact lenses, and even her favorite jacket. It was as if she had simply vanished in the middle of her life, leaving everything behind. There was no blood, no obvious sign of struggle, but also no sign of Brianna. Investigators quickly realized this wasn't just a simple car accident. The way the car was positioned, the items left behind, and the lack of any clear evidence pointed to something far more sinister. The news of Brianna's disappearance spread rapidly, sending shockwaves through the small, tight-knit community of Montgomery. People who had always felt safe now looked over their shoulders, and parents held their children a little closer. In those first few days, hope lingered. Maybe Brianna had run away. Maybe she'd call or walk through the door at any moment. Her family clung to the phone, waiting for it to ring, praying for good news. But as the hours turned into days and the days into weeks, hope began to fade. Dread crept in, settling over the town like a heavy fog. Search parties formed, combing the woods, fields, and rivers for any sign of Brianna. Volunteers, police, and even strangers joined the effort, desperate to find a clue that would explain her disappearance. Brianna's case quickly became one of Vermont's most perplexing and haunting mysteries. Flyers were posted everywhere, her face staring out from newspaper headlines and television screens. It all began with a chilling fact. A young woman disappeared, her car left behind in a way that defied explanation. The questions only multiplied as time went on. The investigation stretched on for years, haunted by rumors, false leads, and wild theories. Detectives pored over every detail, but the truth remained elusive. As the silence of Brianna's absence grew, it was soon replaced by a storm of speculation, rumors, theories, and questions that have never been fully answered. To this day, the vanishing point of Brianna Maitland's life remains one of Vermont's most enduring mysteries. Before her name appeared in headlines and news reports, Brianna Maitland was just a regular teenager in Vermont, quietly building her life one day at a time. She was ambitious, juggling 2 jobs to support herself and save for the future, showing a work ethic that was rare for someone her age. Whether she was serving customers at a local cafe or helping out at a small business, Brianna was known for her reliability and her warm, easy smile. She shared a rustic farmhouse with friends in the quiet countryside, surrounded by Vermont's rolling hills and forests. Living with peers gave her a sense of independence, but also a close-knit support system. The house was always filled with laughter, music, and the dreams of young people just starting out in life. Brianna was creative and artistic, often spending her free time sketching or painting. She had recently earned her GED, a milestone she was proud of, and proof of her determination to keep moving forward, even when life threw obstacles in her path. She talked with friends about college and what the future might hold, her imagination running wild with possibilities. Brianna's ambitions were as wide as the Vermont sky. She dreamed of travel, of new experiences, and of making a difference in the world. Even though she lived apart from her family, Brianna stayed close to them. She called home often, visited when she could, and cherished the support and love of her parents and siblings. Their bond was strong, built on trust and understanding. Brianna's kindness and trusting nature made her beloved by those around her. She was the kind of person who would go out of her way to help a friend or offer a smile to a stranger. But her family sometimes worried that her open heart made her vulnerable, in ways she didn't always see. She wasn't someone looking to run away from her problems. Instead, she was making plans, setting goals, and working hard to build a future she could be proud of. Brianna was determined to carve out her own path, step by step. On the day she disappeared, Brianna had taken her driver's test, a rite of passage for any young adult. Passing that test was more than just a license. It was a symbol of her growing independence and her excitement for the next chapter of her life. When she vanished, the loss was immediate and profound. Her empty room, her unfinished plans, and the silence she left behind became a constant ache for her family and friends, a void that nothing could fill. Those who knew Brianna best have never believed she simply walked away from her life. They remember her dreams, her responsibilities, and the love she had for those around her. To truly understand what happened, it's important to know who Brianna was, a responsible, hopeful young woman, just beginning to shape her future, with so much left to experience. The abandoned barn where her car was found wasn't the end of a journey she chose. It marked the start of a nightmare her loved ones never imagined, and a mystery that would haunt a community for years to come. Behind every headline and case file is a real girl, a daughter, a friend, a dreamer, whose story deserves to be remembered and whose voice still echoes in the hearts of those who love her. March 19th, 2004. Brianna's last night began like any other. She worked her shift at the Black Lantern Inn, left a note for her housemate, and planned to come home. Co-workers said she seemed tired, but in good spirits. She left alone around 11:20 p.m., driving her mother's green Oldsmobile. The drive home was barely a mile. What happened in those few minutes remains the heart of the mystery. No sign she planned to leave, no indication of trouble. That short drive is a black hole in the timeline. Every theory circles back to those missing minutes. For Brianna, an ordinary drive home became an extraordinary, heartbreaking mystery. The next morning, as the sun rose over the quiet Vermont countryside, a passing motorist noticed something strange at the old Dutch burn barn. Brianna's green car was awkwardly backed into the weathered wooden wall, its rear bumper pressed against the boards as if it had been hastily abandoned. The barn, a familiar landmark to locals, suddenly became the center of a mystery that would haunt the community for years to come. At first glance, the car showed only minor damage, a broken light, a few scratches. Nothing seemed urgent or out of the ordinary. But when police ran the plates and realized the car belonged to Brianna's mother, the situation took a dark turn. The sense of unease grew as officers began to piece together the scene. Inside the car, Brianna's personal belongings were scattered across the seats and floor. Her eyeglasses, which she needed to see clearly, were left behind. Prescription medication, uncashed paychecks from her job, and other items she would never willingly abandon were all in plain sight. It was as if she had vanished in the middle of her routine, leaving everything important behind. Outside the barn, investigators found more troubling clues. A woman's fleece jacket lay on the ground, but it didn't belong to Brianna. Nearby, a water bottle and a broken necklace were discovered, hinting at a possible struggle or hurried departure. Each item raised more questions than answers, deepening the mystery. Strangely, Brianna's car keys, wallet, and cell phone were missing from the vehicle. These were things she always kept close. The absence of these essentials, along with Brianna herself, suggested that whatever happened at the barn was sudden and unexpected. The way the car was positioned, backed tightly against the barn wall, didn't look accidental. Investigators quickly realized it seemed staged, as if someone wanted to create a specific impression or cover up what had really happened. The scene felt eerily deliberate, not the result of a simple mishap. Despite the suspicious setup, the ground around the barn was undisturbed. There were no footprints leading away, no obvious signs of a struggle, and no evidence to show which direction Brianna or anyone else had gone. Yet the entire scene suggested that something sinister had taken place. Investigators came to believe that Brianna did not leave the barn willingly. The evidence pointed to the involvement of another person, someone who had gone to great lengths to erase their tracks and leave behind a chilling puzzle. Over time, the old Dutch burn barn became more than just a building. It became a symbol of loss and unanswered questions. Its silent, weathered walls stood as a witness to the last known moments of Brianna's life, holding secrets that no one could unlock. For years, the haunting image of Brianna's car pressed against the barn wall dominated news reports and missing person posters. It became the defining image of the case, a stark reminder of how quickly a life can change and how a single moment can ripple through an entire community. The barn stood just a mile from the safety of home, yet for Brianna, that short distance became an insurmountable barrier. Her journey ended not with answers, but with a chilling mystery that continues to haunt those who search for the truth. Decades later, the scene at the old Dutchburn barn still baffles investigators. The unanswered questions linger, and the hope for resolution remains, as the barn stands watch over a case that refuses to fade from memory. From the start, the search for Brianna was overwhelmed by rumors and misinformation. Investigators chased countless tips, most leading nowhere. Online forums and social media amplified the noise, making it harder to find real clues. Theories about drug dealers, sightings, and conspiracies muddied the waters. Law enforcement and Brianna's family struggled to separate fact from fiction. The truth is likely known by a few, but finding it amid the static remains the greatest challenge. Scientific advances brought new hope. In 2022, DNA found near Brianna's car was tested against multiple persons of interest. No match. The sample was sent to Othram, a lab specializing in forensic genealogy. They built a detailed profile, narrowing the source to a specific individual. Police now have a name, but not enough evidence for an arrest. In 2024, the FBI offered a $40,000 reward for information, leading to an arrest. The hope, science, and incentive will finally bring someone forward. The missing piece may be just one tip away. For 20 years, Brianna's family has refused to let her memory fade. Her father, Bruce Maitland, became a tireless advocate, keeping her story alive online and in the media. The family endures endless speculation and pain, but never gives up hope. Vermont State Police insist the case is still active. The FBI reward signals a renewed push for answers. Time is both enemy and ally. Secrets kept for decades may finally surface. Brianna would be 38 today, missing longer than she was alive. The urgency grows with each passing year. The family and investigators fight not just for clues, but against time itself. They hope renewed attention and technology will finally break the silence. Justice for Brianna remains their unwavering goal. Brianna's case is often linked to Maura Murray, who vanished a month earlier in nearby New Hampshire. 2 young women, 2 car incidents, 2 disappearances. So similar, speculation of a connection was inevitable. Law enforcement investigated possible links, but found no credible evidence tying the cases together. The similarities are striking, but the details diverge. Theories of a serial predator persist, but distract from the unique facts of each case. For Brianna's investigation, it added another layer of noise. Police focus on her case as a distinct tragedy, determined to solve it on its own terms. After 2 decades, the truth is still buried in noise. Rumors and misinformation have hampered the search for Brianna. The FBI and Vermont State Police plead for real, first-hand information. Even the smallest detail could be the missing piece. Someone may have seen a car near the barn or overheard a crucial conversation. The $40,000 reward is meant to motivate someone to finally come forward. The search continues, a marathon of hope and persistence. The truth of March 19th, 2004, remains silent but not forgotten. Anyone with credible information is urged to contact authorities. The story isn't over. We wait for the day the silence is finally broken by the clear signal of truth.